The night the snow swallowed the road, she almost didn't stop. The headlights carved a narrow tunnel through white nothingness, and her heart hammered as her triplets cried and begged from the back seat, their small voices tangled with fear and exhaustion. Then she saw him, alone in the storm, bent against the wind, and wrapped around his neck was the scarf she had buried with her husband 5 winters ago. Before the story pulls you deeper, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen when people choose compassion over fear. Your support keeps stories like this alive. She had promised herself she would never stop again, not on roads like this, not with 3 children depending on her. Life as a single mother had taught her that hesitation could be dangerous, and that good intentions did not keep you warm when the snow kept falling. The car was old, the heater uneven, and the dashboard light flickered like a nervous thought she could never quite silence. The triplets had fallen asleep earlier, their heads tilted together in that way that made them look like one breathing creature. But the storm woke them, fear woke them. And now their pleading filled the car, begging her to keep going, begging her not to risk everything for a stranger in the dark. Her name was Mara, and grief had settled into her bones long before that night. 5 years earlier, a drunk driver had taken her husband on a clear autumn evening, leaving behind a scarf that still smelled faintly of cedar and winter soap, and a life that shattered quietly without spectacle. She learned to be strong the way exhausted people are strong, by necessity rather than choice. She worked 2 jobs, learned which bills could wait, learned how to smile at school meetings while carrying a constant ache. Love became something she rationed carefully, because loving too openly had once cost her everything. The road that night was supposed to be an easy shortcut home after a late shift. The weather report had been wrong, or maybe she had been too tired to listen closely. Snow fell heavier with every mile, the kind that erased tire tracks and muffled sound until the world felt sealed off and fragile. When she saw the figure ahead, her first instinct was to tighten her grip on the wheel and drive past. Her second instinct was to look again, because something about the man's posture felt familiar in a way she could not name. He stood at the edge of the road, snow clinging to his coat, one arm wrapped protectively around a small child pressed into his side. The man's shoulders were hunched, not just from cold but from the weight of holding himself together. And around his neck was the scarf, unmistakable even under frost, the deep blue woven with a thin silver thread along the edge. Her breath caught so hard it felt like pain. That scarf was not just similar, it was hers. It was the one she had wrapped around her husband's neck every winter, the one she had held against her face when the house felt too empty, the one she had finally placed into the coffin because it felt wrong to keep it for herself. She remembered the funeral snow, the way flakes had landed on the fabric like small apologies. Seeing it now, alive in the world, felt impossible. The triplets begged harder as the car slowed, fear sharpening their voices. They had grown up with caution drilled into them like a survival skill. They knew the world could be unkind. They knew their mother was all they had. Mara's chest burned with the choice in front of her. Stop and risk everything, keep going, and live with the question forever. She pulled over. The wind slammed into the car as she stepped out, snow immediately soaking her shoes. The cold was sharp, biting through layers, but she barely felt it. The man turned toward her, eyes wide with relief and something else, something like disbelief that help had come at all. The child at his side was no more than 6, face red from cold, eyes too tired to cry anymore. Mara ushered them toward the car, every movement deliberate, her mind racing. She wrapped the child in blankets from the trunk, her hands moving on instinct. Up close, the scarf was undeniable. The silver thread caught the light exactly the way she remembered. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure the others could hear it. As they drove, the storm pressing close on all sides, she felt the weight of the moment settling in. The triplets watched from the back seat, fear slowly giving way to curiosity, to the quiet awareness that something important was happening. The man sat rigidly, as if afraid that any movement might break the fragile safety he had been given. He was a single father, stranded when his car slid into a ditch miles back. He had tried to walk for help, carrying his son as far as he could, until the cold forced him to stop. His name was Jonah, and exhaustion clung to him like a second coat. He spoke carefully, not wanting to take more than he had already been given. Mara drove toward the nearest town, her mind spinning. She wanted to ask about the scarf, about how it came to be around his neck, but fear held her back. Fear of coincidence, fear of answers that might reopen wounds she had worked so hard to close. The road finally gave way to lights, a small gas station glowing like a promise. Relief washed through the car, soft and trembling. Inside the warmth, with hot drinks pressed into cold hands, the truth unfolded not with drama but with quiet inevitability. Jonah explained how he had found the scarf years ago in a thrift store run by a church, donated after a funeral. He had bought it because it was warm, because it reminded him of better winters, because he could not afford much else. It had become his constant companion, a small comfort during long nights when his son asked where his mother had gone and why some people never come back. Mara listened, the pieces sliding into place. Her husband's scarf had not been lost to the earth, it had been carried forward, warming another family through their own grief. The realization cracked something open inside her, something she had kept sealed for years. Grief, she understood then, did not end. It moved. It transformed. It connected strangers in ways that felt almost sacred. The triplets watched everything with wide eyes, absorbing the moment in their own way. They saw their mother soften, saw fear give way to something gentler. They saw that stopping had not brought disaster, that kindness had not punished them. That lesson would settle into them quietly, shaping who they would become. The storm raged outside, but inside the small building there was a sense of fragile peace. Arrangements were made. Jonah's car would be towed in the morning. A nearby motel offered a room. No grand promises were exchanged, no dramatic declarations, just gratitude, shared exhaustion, and the unspoken understanding that something rare had happened. In the days that followed, Mara found herself thinking of Jonah more than she expected. Not in a romantic way at first, but with curiosity and warmth. Their lives, once so separate, had brushed against each other and left marks. They exchanged numbers, not because they had to, but because it felt wrong not to. Kindness, once given, has a way of asking to be continued. Winter stretched on, and with it came small moments of connection. Coffee shared while children played, help offered without obligation, laughter that surprised them both. The scarf remained a presence, sometimes around Jonah's neck, sometimes folded carefully when the weather warmed. It became a symbol not of loss, but of survival. Mara's children grew attached to Jonah and his son, seeing in them a reflection of their own family. Two broken halves learning how to stand together. There were setbacks, moments when grief surged unexpectedly, when fear of loss threatened to undo everything. But this time, Mara did not face it alone. She realized that love did not erase the past. It honored it by building something new on top of it. Her husband's memory was not betrayed by her happiness. It was woven into it, like silver thread in blue wool. The scarf had come full circle, not to reopen wounds, but to stitch them gently closed. Years later, Mara would think back to that night whenever snow fell thick and fast. She would remember the moment she almost didn't stop, the sound of her children begging, the sight of a familiar scarf in an unfamiliar place. She would remember how close she came to driving past a miracle because fear felt safer than hope. And if this story is reaching you now, if it has stirred something tender or reminded you of a moment when kindness changed your life, please take a second to like, share, and engage with this video. Your interaction helps these stories find the hearts that need them most. Before the ending, there is a special request just for you. Please comment below and share what this story made you feel, or a time when choosing kindness changed everything for you. Your words matter more than you know. On the coldest nights, when the world feels indifferent and the road ahead looks impossible, remember this. Sometimes the thing you are most afraid to stop for is the very thing that will save you. Sometimes love returns in a form you never expected, wrapped around the neck of a stranger, waiting for you to choose compassion one more time.